Welcome to Conversations with Jen and Mel. This show is about real life with real people, having real conversations, from better health to mental health and more. Let's check out the conversation right now with your host, Jen and Mel.
Well, on today's episode of Jen and Mel, we are talking about when a man finds a wife. And so listen, it's late, y'all. We record and it's late. I don't know when you all are about to watch this, but it's our bedtime. So she's making excuses. We about to cut up. Listen, let me just period. All right, so when a man finds a wife, and so now we're just talking about, people have a whole lot to say about the idea of a man finding a wife. And so one misconception we have as women is we think when a husband finds a wife, that when he finds us, he already gonna know how to act. 110% already made. Wrong. Did I do that right?
I don't know.
And so, I'm not saying we shouldn't find a man that has great characteristics, a man with great character, integrity, faithful, or I'm not saying any of that. I'm saying that if you think that you always gonna marry a husband, that's not even what the word says, and that he not gonna need some work, then the only man you waiting for is Jesus. And I'm just saying. Listen, I had a list so long at one time as I spent my decade plus sitting with the old folks that my grandmother just finally told me, baby. And she thought she was real helpful, and I think she may have been a little bit. She said, that man you waiting on ain't never been born. So, ladies, I know we are supposed to make our requests known unto God, but if you have a laundry list of things that you desire to have in a man, then you might want to wait on Jesus.
Well, some of y'all are waiting on Jesus.
Go wait on Jesus. Wait on Jesus. So when a man finds a wife, and so why doesn't it say when a husband finds a wife? Or why doesn't it say when a man finds a woman?
I don't know why I say that.
I'm saying, so the expectation we have on women is that, and so, wait a minute, I heard this conversation earlier. Now, I was actively engaged in this conversation earlier. And this conversation earlier was this point. Someone was saying to me that every woman is a wife, just depending upon the man. Wrong. Did I do that right?
Yes.
Did I do that right?
I think so.
And so, every woman is not a wife.
Every woman is not a wife.
Every woman does not even have the capacity to care for herself, and especially the needs of someone else, or is not selfless enough to submit herself to another individual. Now, is there a wife that lives in her house? Could she potentially at some point, possibly, maybe. But is she that? Every woman is not a wife. And the harsh reality of it is some may never be. And do you know I have had conversations with women who have said, I'm not a wife because I'm not selfless enough. I don't want to be. I don't want to submit to that level to be a wife. And so sometimes we're looking for a mate and looking to get married and looking to be wives, but we aren't looking to be selfless.
Right.
We aren't looking to serve.
Right.
We're looking to be saved. And I don't mean to be funny, but the days of being and meeting the captain save them. So we went from wanting
That's still out there.
a few captain.
They have the spirit of Captain Saver. Yeah.
Men.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
That's what all that. Never mind. I don't even want to talk about it.
I need to know what.
To me, all of that high level, low vibration, all that mess, that's what it's about.
About what?
To me, it is, they're talking about, you haven't heard this talk about the high vibration man, high level man, finding a high level woman and all of that.
Okay.
To me,
So
it's all hogwash. But
so my mother used to tell me this. She would say, become what you want.
mm-hmm.
And so how dare we as women, and we're talking about, we're talking about the modern day woman. I mean, we want rights to everything now. But in relationships, we want something completely different. Like, we want the same rules as a guy, regulations as a guy, salary as a guy, permissions as a guy. Wait, and I'm saying we should have. But I mean,
Okay, when she's saying we, she's not talking about us.
I'm saying no. I'm talking about women in general. I'm not talking about either one of us.
That's not women in general, because not every woman wants that. Don't stereotype us. We're talking about a certain type of person. That's what they want.
Okay. Want to have their voice.
Yes.
Want to say what they want to say.
Mm-hmm.
How they want to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Want to do what they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And not ask too much about it. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Want to make their own decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And so we want this level of...
Okay, maybe she's talking about me. Keep going.
So we want this level of independence, but we also want to be wives.
Uh-huh.
And so when we are wives that want husbands, except we function independently. And so we make no room for that man to join us as one, because we have closed him out of so much of who we are and his responsibility and his role, because we're moving so fast, because we've been doing it like that so long that we haven't even opened that up for us to become together as one. And so when a man finds a wife, that's a working of two.
Mm-hmm.
And so earlier I was saying this. So what if when a man finds a wife, a man actually finds someone that he sees a glimpse and potential of who she could possibly be. And in that, he goes in and he begins to carve out that identity that he sees in her and help to cultivate what he sees in her.
I think that's what other generations did when they married their wives and they turned them into servants.
Dang. And so, what if he doesn't see a servant? What if he sees, like the conversation we were having with someone earlier, what if he sees a lawyer? What if he sees a doctor? What if he sees a mother or a nurse? What if he sees something in her that goes far beyond the household, and he comes in and he supports that and cultivates that in her? And I'm not even saying to her, I am saying almost like if, oh my gosh, so here we go. If a man's job is to love his wife like Christ loved the church and give himself as ransom for it. And so there's some similitude and some model of the father without necessarily fathering, but yet cultivating. that the husband has to do and go in and nurture her to a place of wholeness. Because when the fall of man happened, women went from here for where the helpmeet until the curse came and the men became to govern over us. And then in the New Testament, it goes in and it tells us to submit one to another. But it's him, the man, that restores her back to her position in that marriage and says, now I want us to submit one to another. So I give you your power back in this relationship. I add to you. And so it says when it talks about, and the man finds favor, but just imagine what the woman finds when she finds a man that loves her like Christ loves the church and finds that love here on earth.
Okay.
And so when that man has grown into that place where he can cultivate that in her, and she goes from being someone who he sees a wife in, and as he forms into the husband, she then becomes the wife, and they become one. An enmeshment. And so I think that that is part of the enemy's device, that, you know, he does nothing different. And so as the Tower of Babel, when God saw that the people were one, he came down and confounded the languages. And so I think that that is one of the tactics of the adversary in our household, is to change the way we think so we're not on the same page. And if you say it's blue, then I know that it's red, and we're not on the same page. If, you know, whether it's parenting, whether it's education, whether it's finances, even if at some point we've had the conversation and we agree, the enemy comes in and he distorts our hearing as well as our conversation, because even what's being said is not being heard. And brings division.
Yes.
Because he understands the enmeshment of the two becoming one. And that's not a process that happens overnight. And it doesn't matter that it's God ordained. We're still two grown folks with decisions. It don't matter if, you know, God was in the midst of it and you had angelic encounters, and, you know, and it doesn't matter what happened. We're still two consenting adults.
Yes.
That are still learning to shed the old and to put on the new. And so becoming one is a process.
It is a process.
Mm-hmm. It's a process.
So shout out to Bishop D. Ray Fell. May he rest in peace. He wrote a book, Marriages Are Not Made in Heaven. That was the name of the book. Mm-hmm. And that was the premise, is that you have to work at it.
Yeah. People
get upset, though, for some reason, or turned off by that phrase that you have to work at marriage.
Work at it. No, people tell me all the time, like, I just didn't expect this to be this kind of work.
Well, yeah. You're blending two people from two different backgrounds, possible trauma history, thought process, different viewpoints, different personalities. People do things like people fight over toilet paper. Like, what's the right way to put the toilet paper? Which way they want it?
But it's, over, under. I don't know to this day. I'm not sure. Just sit it on top. I don't know.
Yes, and all of that is blending and coming together and compromising. So it's work, because it's you're constantly sacrificing things that what you think or how you feel things should be.
Yes.
With how this person thinks that it should be.
And so the thing that I think that I encountered most was my husband is a father. And so when a man finds a wife, it was kind of like when a father finds a wife. And so he had to grow into coming out of the role as father, which he was used to being all the time with everyone, all the time, young and old.
So what does that mean, Melody? What does that look like?
And to being the husband.
You felt like he was trying to tell you what to do all the time? What does that mean he was being a father?
It was more in the delivery of it.
So the tone.
No, it was more in the assertiveness of it, and not necessarily the tone. It was just more of the assertiveness,
Matter of factness.
Yeah, and it was just the energy behind it. Like, this is the way. Instead of, come on, let's find the way. Let's discuss the way. Let's have a conversation about the way. Instead of the narrow way. Narrow way.
Okay.
And so it became more of him not literally just trying to govern, but to be involved. Actively involved and consistently involved.
So what's the difference between being the father and being the leader?
I think the leader is the example. And I think the father can be the same too, except the father has a different tone. And so leaders are let us. And so fathers tend to now you. Because they've already done it and modeled it. And now if you're a grown child, now you telling that, you got expectations of a grown child. Now you expect your child to get some act right. Now you grown and old, so you should know the way. But now a leader says, come on, come with me on the way. Does that make sense at all?
Yes.
Yeah.
To me, but.
Yeah. Come with me on the way. Like, let us. And that's how I figure. And that, as a leader, we come in and we say, come on. Yeah. But sometimes in the fathering and the parenting is kind of more the directives. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then I think over time, he went from a tone of the father to a grown child to understanding that there's a little girl that lives in my house and that I'm as grown as I am tender. Now there's a certain way that, and so he's become more gracious and more gentle with me over time, and so we express that. And over time, that's how we communicate with each other. It's a little annoying at times, I'm serious, because I'm like, this is some real sophisticated, bougie kind of grown up, real mature stuff. I just, hold on, let me just grasp this conversation that we had about a tone that was just a little bit, and so the conversations that we have is sometimes the husband talking to his wife, and instead of the father and saying, you're not the only one that has emotional responses, and not talking at me. And so anyways, so we're talking about today when a man finds a wife. And I just don't believe that every woman is a wife. And I think that we do ourselves a disservice when we feel like, and we talked about this before on one of the episodes, when we feel like just because we like him, because we get along with him, that we can make him into a husband. Because we will marry someone that we don't want to lead us. We will marry someone that we've never seen them successful on their journey. We will marry someone we don't even like, but I love them. You know? And so we have so many reasons why we will marry someone because no. Some women today are just, I want to be a wife. They're looking for the opportunity to be a wife. I'm like,
I think we put a lot of pressure on, or there is a lot of pressure on women to be
a wife.
married.
Yes, a wife and a mother.
And there's not a lot of, the ratio is off. So we outnumber men, which makes it even harder. And if that is what your goal is to be married, the pool is small. And some would say full of stinky fish.
Okay, so listen. Now my question is, women. Now this is to the women. Because she just told you something. Because, and I don't know who's watching, if you're African American, Caucasian, I don't know if you're Asian or, whatever. I don't know who's watching. But she just said something that is so important. She's like, because the opportunities. So as African American women, we are one of the most highly educated group of, okay? And so then our men, not so much. And now we have, our pickings have changed. So the selection of us becomes stellar. I mean, men get to choose. They get to choose. So, how you competing? That's all I'm gonna say. You don't comb your hair? You unkept? Work ain't your priority. Cooking ain't your priority. School ain't your priority. Education not your priority. You not your priority. But you want to be somebody's wife? And they got 500 other ones out there to choose from, that all those things are their priority and they can actually help. That's all I'm saying. Everybody not looking for a project.
But that's what you started out talking about. He gonna carve you into the woman.
I didn't say a project. Oh,
You didn't
I
say
said
a
cultivate.
project, but you.
I said cultivate.
What's the difference?
So when I met my ex-husband, I was finishing up my bachelor's degree. I was considering, I was like 2 classes from finishing my bachelor's degree, about to start my master's degree. Bachelor's degree, I already applied for a master's, you know what I'm saying? And so I was moving in a way. And there were some things that, of course, he didn't agree with. But those were things that you could have cultivated, because now that I'm gone, those things have been rectified. But I'm in an environment safe enough where somebody has actually cultivated that and poured into me enough that he has a more whole version of me. And so what I'm saying is, sometimes we just need someone. And so when women marry men, a lot of times women are looking for validation. And so I hate to say that, but that is just true. And so when a woman takes a man's name, she's expecting some sort of validation to come with that name. And so she's taking the name, but she gets rejection instead. So if she takes that name and she's looking for the validation and she doesn't get it, instead, that thing that came to protect her and cover her is the thing that she needs defending against. And someone takes that very thing, and she may have been on her way somewhere or had something that she was working on, a potential in her, or an idea or a concept, but all they do is come and put their foot on her neck. When someone else says, come on, baby, I believe in you. I just need to be what you said you wanted to go to school. Oh, that's good. I'll cook on those days. You go to school. You know, you need me to buy your books. You know, I've got it over here. What do you need me to do? How can I help you? Instead of being a hindrance to her. So sometimes she just needs that support. She just needs to know someone to say, you know what? I believe in you. Maybe she didn't get it at home. You know, maybe she didn't get it anywhere else. Maybe she just needed that push. Maybe she's doing everything she knows to help him, and she has deprived herself, except she had all these goals and all these dreams and all this vision. All she needed was somebody to say, you can do it. I believe you. Because everybody didn't have a father.
True.
You know, and we come from a time when we have so many single parent homes, that many young girls today didn't have a father. So they didn't get the validation and the approval of the one that has. And you know what? I have watched young girls with different fathers. I mean, with the same father, but different times in their lives, where one got validation from the father and one got their foot put on their neck and, you know, kind of cast aside. I have watched how that has impacted their lives, you know, how the father handled them. And so when the husband comes in, he's not necessarily just trying to take over where the father left off, but some of that validation that they needed. And I don't mean to be funny. Anybody that comes into your life should validate you.
I agree with that.
Especially if they got enough nerve to criticize you.
Yes.
Anybody who comes with criticism in your life should also come with validity. Let me validate who you are while I give you truth. Yes. The truth should not always come in a harsh form. Sometimes we just need to hear that, you know, in a constructive way. I don't know, I'm just saying.
Okay. This is going to be a part 2 because I got questions.
Oh, Lord. But when a man finds a wife, we're not just women because we show up. We're not just women because we got legs that spread. We're not just women because we female, and that does not make us a wife.
That is correct.
That does not make us a wife. So are you a wife? Or are you a wannabe? Stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
I hope you enjoyed this episode of Conversations with Jen and Mel. Please join us every Monday at 8 p.m. for new episodes on Facebook, YouTube, Rick.tv, and the Rick TV app by way of Apple TV, Fire TV, and Roku. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Join us again next time on Conversations with Jen and Mel.